It was Monday, February 24th, early evening. I had just wrapped up the show, a little after 5:30 p.m., when a strange message flashed across my phone. It came from a friend I trusted, someone who never sent vague warnings. The text read, "I have something to tell you from the government. They asked me to call you. I'm just the messenger." That last part, asterisk just the messenger asterisk, felt like a warning in itself, as if they wanted distance from whatever they were about to deliver. It started with a single sentence. One quiet, chilling line buried inside a leaked voicemail that Lena Owens was never meant to hear. A line that hinted at a secret powerful enough to shake governments, and dangerous enough to terrify the man who discovered it. The voicemail came from her colleague, Charles King. Within minutes of leaking, it tore through private channels and encrypted group chats, replayed endlessly by people trying to decipher the tremor in his voice. Whoever recorded it wasn't gossiping. They were confessing. Lena Owens had been following scattered whispers about Charles's final months, but hearing that voicemail connected dots she didn't realize were part of the same picture. She had thought she was investigating a simple internal feud, maybe even workplace politics. According to files obtained from Charles's lock drive, he had been digging into someone far more influential, the First Lady of a major European nation, a woman known for elegance, discipline, and a biography studied endlessly by the press, but never questioned. Long before his death, he had been collecting information through unofficial channels. He spoke to journalists, researchers, anonymous insiders, people who claimed they had been told to stay silent. He tracked inconsistencies, asked uncomfortable questions, and followed threads that others considered ridiculous. Back then she brushed it off. Charles loved investigating rumors, sometimes only to debunk them later. But weeks after his death, one memory replayed in her mind. A single sentence he whispered on a late-night call. The voicemail Charles recorded 3 weeks before everything collapsed. Lena spent days tearing through his digital archives. Hard drives, encrypted folders, deleted drafts, unmarked zip files. It was chaos, clearly designed to be found only by someone who knew him well enough to decode it. When Lena searched it, the symbol led to a shadowy investigative collective known for exposing identity manipulation and political cover-ups, stories most governments preferred to bury. Whether the anomalies he found were real, or whether he had been manipulated by dangerous sources, Lena didn't know. But she did know Charles wasn't reckless. If he pursued something this intensely, he believed it mattered. The final clue came from his last voice notes. Hurried, frantic, recorded in the days before everything went wrong. They weren't just research logs. And now Lena Owens stands where Charles once stood, with the file he died trying to reveal. Candace sifted through Charlie's recovered audio notes, each one more unsettling than the last. The recordings weren't normal. They were fragmented, unfinished, as if someone had walked in on him mid-sentence. One clip contained a line that chilled her. Asterisk, they warned me twice now. If I don't shut this down then? Asterisk followed by a sharp click, as though he deliberately stopped the recorder to hide whatever came next. Another note was even more troubling. Charlie said Brigitte's past connects to 2 people in the US, and that, if that gets out, before the audio cut off completely. No explanation. No follow-up. Just silence. Candace replayed the clips for hours trying to understand what he meant, who those US connections were, and why a man as fearless as Charlie sounded genuinely shaken. She had always known he was reckless, always diving into political fires without hesitation. But paranoia? Fear? She had never seen those in him, not until these recordings. The truth struck her hardest when she reached his private calendar. One meeting stood alone, marked only as BM source emergency. No location, no time, only a handwritten line beneath it. CO must never see this. But she had seen it. And now Candace finally understood why Charlie tried to keep her out. Whatever he uncovered wasn't just politically dangerous. It was powerful enough to terrify him. The man who never backed down from anyone was suddenly hiding, altering schedules, and leaving cryptic notes he hadn't intended anyone to read. It was grainy, almost deliberately distorted, showing Charlie meeting a blurred-out man in a Paris cafe. The timestamp hit her like a punch. It matched the night he told Erica he was attending a charity dinner in Chicago. He wasn't in Chicago at all. He had flown to France in secret, meeting someone tied directly to Brigitte Macron. Someone whose identity had been erased from the image entirely, as if they weren't supposed to exist. She didn't know the full truth, but one thing was certain. Whatever Charlie discovered about Brigitte Macron was still out there. And now those secrets had found her. Candace sat alone at her dining table with the lights off, the glow of Charlie's files lighting up only her face. She stared at the Paris photo for nearly 20 minutes, her fingers clenched around her laptop. France. A hidden meeting. A man with no identity. A connection to Brigitte that was clearly meant to stay buried. Her mind replayed every conversation she'd ever had with Charlie. Late-night calls, frantic messages, the exhausted tone he used when he hinted he was onto something bigger than politics. She remembered one voice note where his voice cracked, something she had only heard after the worst threats. Back then she brushed it aside. Now she knew better. Charlie hadn't been scared of enemies in Washington. He was scared of the truth he found abroad. The voicemail leaked 2 days ago played again in her head. Asterisk. I found something. Something that could break everything. Scrolling deeper into Charlie's encrypted French files, Candace found a partial transcript of a call between him and an unnamed French contact. Half the text was manually blacked out. Charlie had been tracing a link between the French First Lady and an American figure, one he never identified. Before she could think further, her phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. Candace panicked and slammed the laptop shut, but the download continued anyway. When it finished, the file name flashed across the desktop. Before she could breathe, her phone vibrated again. This time showing a name she never expected to see. Candace froze. Erica hadn't called her since the scandals. Not since Charlie's death and everything that followed. But now her name flashed urgently across the screen. I saw him yesterday. And again today. Same car. Same man. He doesn't talk. He just watches. Her blood turn to ice. Charlie had left something for Erica, something he intended Candace to finish. Whatever was in that box wasn't random. It was deliberate. A message meant for her. Erica's voice dropped to a trembling hush. Someone Charlie trusted. Someone he worked with. Someone close enough to hide from. Candace stumbled backward. Elijah. She didn't need a last name. There was only one Elijah in Charlie's world. His longtime friend. The man who traveled with him during private events, man who suddenly vanished from the public eye the week Charlie died, the man no one had seen since the funeral. But Candace couldn't speak. Because beneath the photo, the anonymous sender had written. Candace's pulse pounded like a warning bell. Candace blinked hard. Tier 7 wasn't merely restricted. It was above diplomatic access. Why would Charlie, a U.S. commentator, have this level of documented timeline loaded, messy, uneven, with dates revised or crossed out entirely? But 3 circled entries made Candace's skin prickle. Candace felt the room tilt. Elijah. Charlie's friend. Elijah, whose whereabouts became vague after Charlie died. She snatched her phone and dialed Erica. The call connected after 3 rings. Erica answered in a whisper, hiding somewhere small and dark. Erica's breathing quivered. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Charlie kept so many secrets. This isn't just about Charlie anymore. Candace cut in. This is a network. Elijah, French officials, your family. Charlie got caught in it. Candace Owens, you have opened a restricted intelligence file belonging to a partner nation. Cease all activity immediately. You have accessed content implicating individuals on both sides of the Atlantic. Walk away now. This is your final warning. Someone in her family had been behind the operation. Behind the network. Behind the pressure. Behind the cover-ups. The world erupted into full-blown hysteria. Social media ignited almost instantly. One viral clip from a high-profile pundit warned, asterisk, if even 10% of this leak is true, someone high up in both countries orchestrated a psychological influence program involving multiple public figures, and Charlie Kirk may have been either a pawn or a whistleblower. Asterisk, another commentator added, asterisk, people laughed at the rumors about Brigitte Macron. They're not laughing anymore. The documents say identity reconstruction. That alone is enough to trigger an international crisis. Chaos escalated further when a French investigative blog posted a blurry screenshot from the BM final file. Only one line was visible. Primary U.S. subject, Charlie Kirk. The reaction was instantaneous. French media demanded answers, American commentators went ballistic, and TPUSA supporters fractured into competing factions. Candace Owens was suddenly dragged into trending threads worldwide. Questions mounted at lightning speed. Asterisk, did Candace know? Why was Charlie in Paris secretly? What did Elijah have to do with this? The theories spiraled. On TikTok, one creator claimed Charlie was working undercover for a foreign intelligence network. Another posted that Brigitte's identity controversy involved a U.S. participant who helped bury it. Then came a French newspaper's bombshell. Internal officials confirmed that Tier 7 identity files had been breached 3 months before Charlie's death. Charlie wasn't named, but everyone knew what that implied. Screenshots spread across platforms like wildfire. In the U.S., political circles were spiraling. A leaked DM from a congressional aide read, asterisk, they're panicking. Asterisk, people had expected TPUSA drama, not a French scandal of this magnitude. Another insider added, asterisk, if the Owens family name is really in that file, this could collapse entire networks. Asterisk, the questions were relentless. Which Owens? How were they involved? What had Charlie discovered? What was Elijah's role? Candace's team received non-stop calls. Journalists demanded answers. Unknown numbers delivered vague but unsettling warnings. Asterisk, do not release the file. Walk away now. Charlie didn't listen. You should. Asterisk, at 10:47 a.m., a French official anonymously informed a news outlet. Asterisk, U.S. political commentators access classified French identity records. Diplomatic consequences will be severe. Asterisk, the statement triggered international panic. Online, narratives clashed violently. Americans accused France of hiding a decades-old secret. French citizens accused U.S. organizations of meddling in their national affairs. Then came the strangest twist. Someone leaked an old photograph of Brigitte Macron, previously locked behind a restricted French archive. On the surface, the image seemed harmless, but metadata analysts dissected it millisecond by millisecond. One French commentator observed, asterisk, there's an 18-month gap between this photograph and the next public record. Why 18 months? This isn't normal. Asterisk, suddenly, the world became amateur investigators overnight. Chaos magnified when Elijah's name leaked in speculation threads. Not confirmed but heavily implied. A popular political YouTuber posted, asterisk, sources say a close associate of Charlie was involved in meetings in Paris. If true, this blows the story wide open. Asterisk, within minutes, Elijah was trending globally. Old photos resurfaced. His disappearance after Charlie's death was suddenly suspicious. Demands for answers flooded social media. Candace's inbox became a battlefield. Messages poured in. Asterisk, what did Charlie tell you? Did you know about Project E-Toil? Why is your last name in the document? Are you protected? Are you safe? Asterisk, the most chilling warnings came from political insiders. One strategist posted anonymously, asterisk, this wasn't supposed to leak. Whoever exposed this is now a threat to multiple governments. Asterisk, another added, asterisk, Candace needs to watch her back. They silenced Charlie. They'll do it again. As the day progressed, news outlets scrambled for interviews. French officials remained silent. TPUSA avoided the topic entirely. Online investigators pieced together every scrap of data they could find. The world demanded names, documents, and truth. And slowly, it became apparent. Brigitte Macron wasn't the real scandal. She was the distraction hiding a far greater secret. Candace watched the chaos unfold in real time. Then came a 9-second audio clip, labeled Charlie's last warning. Panic rose in her chest. Charlie's panicked, breathless voice whispered, asterisk, if anything happens to me, check Candace's family. They're not who you think. Asterisk, the reactions were instantaneous. People wanted answers. Which family member? Who was involved? What did they do? Was Candace in danger? What had Charlie discovered? The questions swarmed, but no one had clear answers. One thing was undeniable. The scandal had outgrown Charlie. It had outgrown Brigitte. It had outgrown both France and America combined. And the next revelation wouldn't come from leaks, rumors, or anonymous sources. It would come from the source Charlie feared most. A source who had remained silent for years. Someone ready to speak. And Candace Owens was about to face them. Candace didn't sleep. She couldn't. Not after seeing Charlie's name in a French intelligence file. Not after seeing her own family name listed as an architect of Project Etoile. Not after hearing Charlie's final words, warning her to look inward rather than outward for the real threat. But nothing could have prepared her for what came next. At 2:13 a.m., Candace sat alone in her living room, surrounded by stacks of Charlie's printouts. A soft thud outside her door made her freeze. It wasn't a knock. It wasn't footsteps. Just a deliberate sound, like something had been quietly placed on the floor. Every nerve in her body tensed. She waited. Silence. Slowly, heart hammering, she approached the door. Peering through the peephole, she saw nothing. The hallway was empty, except for a small black envelope lying at her feet, identical to the one Charlie had once used when he sent her sensitive information. Candace picked it up cautiously, locking the door behind her. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside there was a single USB drive, unlabeled, and a handwritten note. The signature made her blood run cold. M. Owens. The same name from page 47, the architect, the person Charlie had warned her about. Her own family. She unfolded the note.